holding and carrying big dreams and aspirations and legacies that are bigger than ourselves require us to become someone that we've never been before, or does it? Or is it about becoming so that we can become and be the person who can not only do the bigger vision, but also carry and hold it for ourselves, those that we love and serve, and for our legacy to be here for generations to come? This is a continuation on from our previous episode of what does it mean to carry and hold big dreams, radical responsibility. And I wanted to go deeper with you and for you on why I'm still carrying my dream of being a black belt world champion when so many things in my physical world right now are not pointing me towards success. And it doesn't look like it's going to be possible anytime soon for me to be able to train jiu-jitsu full-time, or to be able to use jiu-jitsu as a vehicle to generate income for me to take care of my family, for me to get paid to be an athlete. And yet the dream is still there. The calling is still there. And the vehicle of the journey to black belt, the journey to becoming a black belt world champion is so much bigger than the dream itself. It is a vehicle. It is a platform. It is a movement for something so much bigger. If you are someone who is called to have a big dream, or you have a big dream that is bigger than your reality right now, and when you look around your reality, you go, I don't even know how this is possible. I don't know how I'm going to bridge from where I am to where I need to be for the dream to even become possible, let alone the dream itself becoming possible and your lived reality. And yet here's what I know to be true about big dreams. They become possible because we become possible. And we can have quantum leaps. We can collapse timelines when our beliefs meet our behavior change and we trust and show up. We allow alignment to happen. We work on our unconscious beliefs. We work on bridging the gap between where we are called to be and who we are. And we weave that dream, that vision into our current reality when we begin to develop the mindset, the belief set, the behaviors and the actions of the person who we need to become to embody that dreaming, so that it not only becomes possible, but we can carry it, hold it, and we can amplify it for generations to come. And this is what I have been sitting with the last couple of weeks since the last episode. I had to take some time off to be in life, to be in myself, and to really assess and sit with, is this the direction I still feel called to go? Do I still feel called that the sacrifices are worth it? Because I've been too attached to timelines. I've been too attached to external expectations, but also my love for jiu-jitsu and not having access to it on a daily or weekly basis had become really hard and difficult for me to carry. So in the last episode, I yarned about the fact that I had to make a decision to not go to a competition in Sydney because I just didn't have the resources for it. And I had to focus on the bigger picture behind the dreaming. But I wanted to yarn about this episode being around developing a black belt mindset off the mats, and not just a mindset, but a heart set, like moving from a soul and spirit level towards the dream that you have. Because here's what I know to be true. If you have a dream or a calling, if you have already had a vision and you've gotten a glimpse or you've seen something that compels you or calls you forward, it's because it's already possible. That is your future state calling you. That is a glimpse, them showing you that if you show up and you step into the dreaming and you allow it to become possible through you because you're showing up to do the work, and then you also surrender attachment to the outcome and attachment to how the journey is going to unfold, the journey becomes possible. And sometimes the glimpse that we have, the vision that we think we hold, is actually the flaw of what is possible. And by us beginning to walk the journey of following the calling, something so much more powerful and bigger than what we could ever have imagined can become possible, because for some of us, we only have the capacity to dream as we are or as far as we are. Sometimes if we dream too big, or if the universe or our ancestors or your God, like whatever you believe in, showed you like fully what you were capable of becoming and who you could become, most of us would run. We'd shit ourselves. We would be like, hell no, am I capable of that? Very few people would fully embrace the dreaming, but also embrace the fact that they are worthy of the dreaming, that they are capable of the dreaming, and even further than that, that they can become someone who evolves the dreaming. that they become the god of the dreaming, and that in God's image, they are the creators of their own world experience and the legacy that they want to leave. And that we can do this seated from the dreams that our ancestors in the universe placed in our spirit and in our hearts. And that dreaming was for us. That calling is for us to bring forward, because we are the only ones who can do it in the way that we do it, because of the unique makeup that we bring, of who we were born to be, of the life that we have lived and who we have become because of the events in our life and the narrative and the conditioning that we've been through, who we fight to be and how we choose to show up. And it's a heart set. It's something so much bigger, and it's a trust that I haven't been able to quite nurture to the point of faith and surrender and attachment to the outcome of going, I just want this now. I want to be able to do jiu-jitsu now. And coming back to my training, coming back to what does it mean to have a black belt heart set. Hold on one sec, you mob. I've got parenting duties. And this is where I'm at right now, is that my life is not set up for jiu-jitsu to be a full-time gig. My life is not set up for my children to become beneficiaries of me doing jiu-jitsu right now. Me doing jiu-jitsu would mean that they would have to sacrifice, is that I would be taking things away from them, not adding value to them. And accepting that and understanding that are the foundations for the growth that I've had in the last couple of weeks, of going, if I really want this dreaming, and if this dreaming really is calling me, then it's going to take me coming back to why I'm in this dreaming, building a level of faith and conviction, not just in the dream itself, but in my worthiness and in the belief that I can do this dream. I am capable and I am built for this. I am meant for this. I was born for this. This was meant for me because only I could do this. Only I can be the Barkindji warrior, the warrior heart, and bring this movement, this journey, this story to the world, to create change, to empower others, for it to be an awakening and a calling home to all those that the world told that they are too much, that they are not enough, that they didn't belong as they were, or that it wasn't safe to be themselves in the world. And to me, the black belt mindset or heart set is a willingness to understand that in order to be able to give back to others, we must master ourselves. We must do the work of developing our skill sets of commitment and conviction in our path and in our training, and that extends beyond the mats, that life itself is our playground, life itself is our arena. And I've been training martial arts for 20 years. I first started martial arts because I was already a fighter, but my fighting was not serving me any longer. The way I was approaching the battles in my life, the way I was approaching life itself had become a war ground. The things that I had done to protect myself were now the things that I was using to harm myself. So when I found and was invited, I was invited into jiu-jitsu. Someone showed me the way. Someone opened the door for me. It wasn't something that I was seeking out. It sought me out. And that's the really powerful thing, is that I didn't start jiu-jitsu because I needed to learn self-defense. I'm not a woman who needed to learn self-defense. I already knew how to fight. And I am comfortable with violence. And at points I enjoy violence because it's normal to me. I'm desensitized to it because of how I grew up and what was done to me, what was done to my people, what is still being done. My very humanity, my very identity is a political football, as a woman, as a mother, and as a First Nations woman. I am an afterthought. Violence that is done against my people, against my body, against my identity. How can I not be desensitized to violence when this is the reality of what it means to be a woman, a mother, and a First Nations person in the world today? And when I gave birth to my children, another layer, a level of a warrior was born. And I love my children with everything that I am. And you threaten my children and you will activate a part of me, a warrior I will die for my children. I will fight for my children to have what I never had, for them to be in the world. I will fight to change the world so that they inherit a better world than what I did, so that they can be sovereign and self-determined in their identity, in the way that they show up and express themselves, in the way that they show up and live and move through the world, and that they don't have to choose between worlds. They get to weave their worlds together. That is not the reality right now, but that is the world I'm working for. That is the world that I'm fighting for through my example and through my story. And I had to start to ask myself, where in my life do I need to start showing up as a black belt? And the short answer was, it was everywhere, because I had lost my original reason of why I started the practice of martial arts in the first place, as it being my arena and my playground to become myself, to shape myself, to develop my gifts and my strengths so that when I stepped into the world, I could be of service to the world because I'd done the work of developing myself, of being myself in spaces where I could come home to myself. I could be with myself in a way that I understood myself, and then I could take that capacity, that capability, and that energy and that force and use it for good for those that I loved in the world that I wanted to create the world that I was called to create through my example. And yet I've lost connection with that. I had become so focused on my loss of jiu-jitsu, on the competition side of things and doing what I love, that I forget that I can weave that into my life. And my own analogies of it is what it is as it is, doing the best you can with what you have. It's like, well, what do I have? What can I use right now to develop myself as a martial artist? Where can I be a black belt in my own life? Where am I called to step up as a black belt in my life? Where can I become a black belt in spirit, mind, in body, so that when jiu-jitsu becomes available to me again, I'm ready. I can jump in. Nothing can obviously replace jiu-jitsu training to be a jiu-jitsu athlete. And yet I can do solo drills. I can watch and visualize jiu-jitsu. I can condition my body and my mind to be ready to be a black belt when the opportunity presents itself. So that when I step into the mats, I already have the mindset. I already have the heart set. I already have the physicality. So that when I step onto the mats, the only thing that I get to have to focus on is the development of my jiu-jitsu, because I already have the physicality, the mindset, the spirit, and the body that can do jiu-jitsu at a black belt level. And sitting with that was really humbling. And it was like, am I willing to do that? I know I can do that, but am I willing to do that? Am I willing to trust and surrender to the bigger vision that this will become possible? It's in its own timing. And then it's about the concept of being anti-fragile and radically responsible. Every fall down is not about getting back up. It's about learning why I fell in the first place. It's about understanding, where did I fall over and where was the opportunity to prevent that? Where was the lesson? Where was the window? Where was the opportunity? Where did I tap out to myself? These are the opportunities for growth, building the life and the person who can support and hold the foundations of what it will take to go on the journey to become a black belt world champion, let alone what's going to happen when I become a black belt world champion. And being able to carry that and amplify it into the world so that it can shift narratives and create a movement. So to me, a black belt mindset is about courage and vision first and foremost. It is about the courage to show up as you are and to develop your own practice. Jiu-jitsu is such a diverse martial arts. It's like a physical and mental game of chess. There are so many nuances. It is such a sophisticated martial arts that is still evolving. Jiu-jitsu, you could literally study it for a lifetime and still not know everything. And here's the thing, you can be a general practitioner enough to be a coach and know enough of jiu-jitsu to be a good coach. But you still, even in that, you will still have specialties. You will still be an area where you are a surgeon, where your game is built on your personality, your physicality, your age, your body, your injuries. And your jiu-jitsu will evolve and adapt depending on how many decades you are in. And that's what I had to accept, that I am a 41-year-old woman. I'm a mother of 5 children. I run businesses. I have cultural responsibilities. I carry colonial trauma. I carry intergenerational trauma. I'm still healing. I'm still building my self-belief and I'm still becoming myself. I'm still coming home to myself. And how does jiu-jitsu become an arena for that? A space where I get to do that work? And how does jiu-jitsu weave into that story and that experience? So for me, courage and vision to step on the mats, knowing that I was one of only 2 females in my regional gym when I first started jiu-jitsu that was doing jiu-jitsu at the time. I am the 2nd Aboriginal black belt in Australia. I am the only 3-time world champion, Aboriginal Indigenous world champion so far in Australia, and maybe internationally, maybe globally. To my knowledge, I am the only, and I hope if you know of anyone that is an Indigenous 3-time world champion in jiu-jitsu, please send them my way. I want to know them. I want to know their story. And yet I'm doing this so that I might be first, but I will not be the last. And in order for that legacy and that dream to become possible, in order for me to be able to go on that journey, I need to become the person and lay the foundations in my life for that to become possible. That means I need to become a black belt in other areas of my life before I can become a black belt in jiu-jitsu. So the courage and the vision start first. then it's anti-fragility and conviction. It's that every fall down becomes an opportunity to get stronger, that I use that break, that challenge, that adversity to become stronger. It's not just about being resilient and bouncing back to the same point. No, it's in that knockdown, in that tap out, in that loss, in that lesson. I sit in it so that I don't make the same mistakes again. That in that loss, in that tap out, I become stronger from it. It becomes forged in me, in my wisdom, in my lessons, in my experiences. And this is the vision and the courage to start, and then the ability to be anti-fragile, but also convicted that the vision is possible, that it is possible by and for me, that I'm worthy of doing this, but I'm not just capable, but I can be the person that can carry and evolve and amplify the vision into the world in a way that it resonates beyond me, but it comes through me, by me and for me. And that is how others become beneficiaries of it. That I build a story worth telling, I weave an example worth following, a legacy worth having. And it's about laying that and being humble enough to always constantly focus on the learning. It is never about the belt around my waist. That is a responsibility. It is not a privilege. I mean, it is not a right. It is a privilege. It is a responsibility. That if I am to stand on the mats as a black belt, knowing that others will look to my example, others will want to know how I became a black belt. They will look to my example. They will look to my story. Men who have wives or daughters, women who have children, young girls who are starting out and going, hold on, I can be a black belt and a mum. I can be a woman with a career and a mum and be a black belt. And I can carry that and weave it together. I don't have to sacrifice myself. I can have it all. That is the responsibility that I hold. So when I step into those roles, when I put the black belt around my waist, when I pick up a microphone to speak because I have been invited to speak, I know that I can stand there with peace and conviction and integrity in my heart, that all I have to do is show up as myself, nothing less but nothing more than the totality of who I am, in all my power, in all my truth, and in all my heart, because I've done the work to become myself. I've done the work to develop myself and master myself in a way that when I am called to step up and lead, when I am called to, I am invited, I am called to step up and be at the front, to share my story or raise my voice. Two different things. Raising my voice to challenge things or to speak truth. Being invited to share my story because other people see it as a value or a contribution to their community or to their cause. When I wrap my black belt around my waist, when I enter the gym, when I show up to parent my children or lead my organizations, I can do so grounded in the fact that I am doing the work on myself. I can show up and lead because I'm doing the work to become myself. And that commitment to mastery and growth is the journey. It is being my vision and my calling, my ancestors' mandate. That is the foundations. That is the arena. That is the journey. And the fact that my jiu-jitsu is a mirror for life, that jiu-jitsu and the fights that I have on the mats are often a reflection of the fights that I'm having off the mats and how I'm showing up in those fights. Am I tapping out too early? Am I tapping out to my mindset? Am I tapping out because I'm not showing up to do the work? Where is the opportunity for growth? Where am I powerful? What lights me up? What gives me energy? Where is my strength and my power? And how do I use that knowledge and weave it and amplify it beyond the mats? And it's about showing up consistently and being convicted that every step matters. Every time you step into the arena, every time you say yes to your dreaming and you show up from a place of responsibility to do the work, that you trust that in the small moments that they lay the groundwork for the big moments. That to win is to be able to do what is important now. To be consistent and to have conviction is the greatest form of self-trust and self-respect. To honor yourself by showing up to do the work and doing it when it's hard. Building yourself up, that self-care is the foundations for life. Becoming the person who can carry the dreaming and be the dreaming is one of the greatest gifts you can give to yourself, and the greatest things to say yes to. It's learning to find inner peace and finding your composure under pressure. It's being humble enough to tap out when you have lost the fight so that you can stay in the battle. It's being humble enough to tap out because you know that your opponent has caught you, and to not tap out is going to cause injury, and it's disrespectful to yourself and your opponent because you have put your ego before your capacity and your skill. To tap out to someone is not to be a loser. It is to respect your opponent and the work that they have put in, and that they are better than you in that moment, that whatever they did, You made a mistake somewhere, or they caught you, they outwitted you. And that is being humble enough to honor your opponent and respect them for what they bring to the mats, and then take the responsibility to learn the lesson from that and take it back to the mats and to work on yourself, to grow yourself, so that next time you have the opportunity to fight, you know that you have learnt, you have grown from that, you have put in the work, but also you find so much inner peace with yourself. You don't have to tell people you are a black belt. You just carry this energy, this vibe. There are black belts and then there are black belts. There are world champions and then there are world champions. There are just people who are so grounded in who they are, they don't need to tell you. They show you by who they're being and how they're showing up. So my recording equipment seems to be not liking me today, so I will put this together and hopefully it connects. And I was talking about jiu-jitsu being a mirror for life, but also what does it take? And for me, it's the humility to do the work of becoming someone who is worthy of carrying a black belt and being a black belt, because I've done the work. I'm about the work. I'm about the growth, and I'm about becoming someone who can not just wear a black belt, but to carry a black belt in a way that honors the roles and responsibilities of what that means when I step into that space. And I want that in business, in culture, in life, in motherhood, in jiu-jitsu. When I tell my story, I am so grounded in who I am, and I am so convicted, and I have done the work to become the most powerful version of myself in those roles, that when I walk in, I don't need to introduce myself. My energy introduces me. My story and my energy speak for themselves, and that this becomes a catalyst for movements. It becomes a legacy that lasts for generations, to inspire and empower others to step into their warrior heart, to step into their dreams and their calling with trust and surrender. That if they were chosen, that they also choose the calling back, and that we become humble enough to do the work, to show up for what that means. And that self-discipline, self-respect is the work. It is the greatest act of self-love. It is the greatest act of love to others when we move from responsibility, when we move from self-discipline. Self-discipline isn't a chore. It is an act of self-love, because when we show up, and that could be as an athlete, it could be doing your physio and not just waiting for when you're getting an injury, but developing and loving your body enough and honoring your body enough to build the body that is capable of performing and practicing your sport or your martial arts. In my case, acknowledging that my body has birthed and carried 4 children, breastfed 4 children, and I'm 41. And what that means and what it means to train as a 41-year-old female that has had 4 biological children, and that I run businesses, that I'm a single parent. How do I train in a way that honors those things and weaves them and strengthens my jiu-jitsu? It's not detrimental to it, but jiu-jitsu doesn't become detrimental to my other roles and responsibilities. It's not a distraction, it's a value add. It's not a procrastination, it's not an avoidance, and it's not a sacrifice either. It's a contribution. Obviously, sacrifices need to be made in the gain and the vision of bigger dreams. But those sacrifices need to be contributing factors to the betterment of both my family and my legacy in the here and now, but also for decades and generations to come. And I want to be doing jiu-jitsu not just to win black belt world titles, but for a lifetime and a lifestyle. So I need to train for that. I need to prepare for that. And that's how I need to practice. And it's the importance of showing up daily, that it's not just about when we feel like it. And when we make hard choices that are aligned and seated in our vision, in our dreaming, we make governing decisions, not just decisions and boundaries, but governing decisions. We stand by the decisions that we make. That when we make a commitment, we follow through. And in the pursuit, in following the calling to be a black belt and to become a black belt in all areas, in life, in culture, in business, in jiu-jitsu, what will that mean? What will the ripple effect mean for those that I love and the legacy that I'm here to lead? That this will become the arena where I am shaped, where I can become, so that when I step out into the world, I can just be as I am, because I know that I've done the work. I am prepared for what I am called for, and that this is available to me. I'm allowed to want this. I am allowed to be a woman with her own aspirations and dreams, alongside being a woman who has a big calling, an Indigenous woman and a mother. That this is my self-care. Jiu-jitsu is my playground. It is my playtime. Winning world titles is my playtime, and winning world titles is easy for me in comparison to dealing with racism, in comparison to healing trauma, in comparison to being a parent. Jiu-jitsu is my arena where I can process all of that and become the woman that I know I can be in order to fulfill the obligations and responsibilities, but also the potential of those roles. That can be the foundations for how I show up for everything else. Jiu-jitsu and my culture are my playgrounds. They are my arena. They are the places where I become myself, so that when I show up in my other roles, I can do so as myself, with humility, with conviction, and with my warrior heart. I can be brave and bold enough to be myself without apology, because I know who I am. I'm culturally grounded, I'm ancestrally guided, and I'm dreaming led. I am Shantelle Thompson, the Barkindji warrior heart. If you want to know more, hit subscribe, like, follow, comment. Hit me up if you want to know a particular story, if you'd like me to go deeper on something, because this is the journey and this is worth fighting for. And now that I've accepted and come and made peace with the fact that I don't know where the road's going to take me, I don't know how or when jiu-jitsu is going to become a daily and a weekly reality. I don't know the next time I'll be able to compete locally, let alone internationally. And I may not like it, but I'm finding peace with it, that this is the journey, that it's not about just one competition or the next world title. This is about creating this to become a lifestyle. This is about creating this to become the foundations for my well-being and how I show up, because our dreams matter. So my black belt mindset is in development. It is grounded in courage and vision. It is grounded in conviction and commitment, being anti-fragile, focusing on self-discipline and doing the work, self-mastery, and honoring the responsibility that this dream comes with, that this vision comes with, that when you step up and you wear a black belt, that comes with responsibility. And it's also about reciprocity and resonance. It's doing the journey in a way that meets who you are as a person, and also allowing it to have its seasons and evolve with you, evolve your jiu-jitsu into your life, weave your life into jiu-jitsu, and weave jiu-jitsu into your life. And where do you need to be a black belt? In yourself or in your life? And what would it mean if you really stepped up to develop yourself as a black belt in the areas that are important to you? What would change? What would shift if you were humble enough to go, I want to be a black belt, I'm ready to become a black belt, and I'm ready to do the work of what that means? Because you are inspired by the potential power of what if, who will become beneficiaries if you show up and start to be a black belt in yourself and in your life and in the things that you're called to do. If this resonates with you, let me know, share it, hit me up on my podcast, on my YouTube channel. And if you want to know more, come and check out my community over on the School, the Warrior Heart community, where I'm sharing my book, Suicide to World Champion. I'm sharing about the concept and the movement that is the Warrior Heart. Standing in your power, being your truth, and following your heart. If you are someone who has been told that you are not enough, you are too much, you haven't been allowed to be yourself, or it hasn't been safe to be yourself in the world, and yet you stood up and fought anyway, and you are leading and serving from your heart, and you know that you are fighting for something so much bigger than yourself, you are soul aware, you are spirit and heart led, then this is for you. Big love you, mob, and I hope this serves and honors you in some way.